Hi everyone, Ray here. I had the great pleasure this week to moderate a live panel discussion on Hanging Out on Air broadcast. It was hosted by Sherry Narani on her site Captive Touch, and it featured Yuri Klepik and Robert Caruso of Bundle Post. It was an amazing discussion, lots of great tips. I edited a bit for this broadcast to get the salient points, and there were a lot of, I said, great points being made and lots of fun as well. Anyway, if you want to watch the whole broadcast, go over to Sherry's YouTube channel, and I'll leave the link below. Other than that, leave some comments, questions, and enjoy the show. See you later. Bye bye. So welcome everybody, and I'm really thrilled because we have two guys here who I follow a lot on the social media platforms, Twitter, pretty well everywhere. And I have a lot of respect for what they do and a lot of respect for who they are because they really speak, I think, from their souls in terms of their authenticity. So we're going to begin. I want to ask, first of all, I want to ask Robert a question because he had written recently on his Occupy Tea Social Party blog post that the social media revolution we are seeing can be described as real social media professionals who are taking the message and stage back from the fake celebrity authors, speakers that the media elected out of their ignorance to the industry in order to preserve the industry's future and long-term effectiveness. So that sort of reminded me of what Gary Vaynerchuk said a while ago about social media consultants, 99% whatever being clowns. And I was interested on your take, Robert, on that. And by doing that, by saying we're taking this back, and are we not pulling like a Pee Wee Herman kind of like, I know you are, but when am I?
Could be, I guess. My entire focus is in really preserving this industry. I think that it's been so overinflated and by a lot of these folks that are dominating the bookstores, the speaking at the events, the trade shows, the conventions, etc. And a lot of them don't and have never done this. So they've never actually taken a small company or a medium brand and developed a strategy, executed the strategy, and returned ROI. What they are is celebrities that have a name or have been known for something else previously, and that celebrity has given them a huge following. And so they regurgitate and write stuff that we all already know, except for the poor newbies coming into the industry. The problem, I think, that can occur if this continues in this way is it's going to create a considerable amount of delusions across the industry, and people will just get fed up. And the second that people stop logging in, stop engaging, is the day that the big brands step out and the day that the whole thing collapses. And so I think it's really important that the proper message of what it really takes, and folks that really do it need to start taking that spotlight and have the experience behind them to be able to speak to these things.
These people that you're saying are these celebrities who have actually taken small companies and built them up through social media and actually have done the work. We see them as influencers. And the question I want to pose now to Yuri is that, well, number one, are they influencers, and what constitutes a real influencer online, especially in the social media world?
Well, here is the catch. I think that you certainly give a really good question, but in order to answer, you need to understand what online influence is. And I think that we're having an issue today because no one ever defined what online influence is. We know what influence is in offline world. Influence is power to sway, and in online worlds every day, or in online world every day, somebody comes and tells us something new what online influence is. So, for example, Cloud is saying that online influence is ability to drive actions, which I would agree to some extent, because actions are the indicators of changing the behavior. But the flip part of Cloud definition is that they don't measure actions. They only measure the passive actions, which are likes, retweets, tweets, number of comments, number of followers, number of unique shares, and so on. These are not indicators that you swayed anyone, are only indicators that you increase in awareness. So now, how influential those people are that you ask me, for me it's difficult to say, because there is no tools that would determine out how powerful these people are in order to change the behaviors in others. I would say to a certain degree they are able to change the behavior, but how much and how much power they have, I would say that a lot of them, it's an artificial power, to be honest with you. I don't see a real power. Is people made people famous. That's how I would describe the influential people on social web.
How do you feel that, and by all means, Robert and Yuri, you can have a conversation amongst yourselves, but I'm just going to, maybe I'll throw something at you, maybe as an introduction. So Yuri, how do you feel that works into Robert's issue about these online celebrities? I mean, obviously, well, you would think that they're celebrities because they are influencers. What has caused them to become influencers in people's eyes?
Well, here is the interesting part. So how do you start looking for, let's say you're interested into social media. What you will do the first things as a newbie coming on the social web? You will go on Google and you will search a term, let's say top social media influencers or top leaders, and you will get the lists and lists of people. Now, there is a logic behind that. And we all know every day somebody posts a list, top 10 social media, I don't know, leaders, top 10 social media bloggers, top 10 social media gurus, top 10 social media rock stars, and so on and so on. So physically, those lists are created for one reason, to get better search engine optimization results, nothing else. And usually if you're checking the list, you will see that every single list might only have 2 different names on it, but majority you will see all the same people because they're all linked to each other. So you do lists about me and I will do lists about you. And that's how we become celebrities. Simple as it is.
I think there's a lot of cases where that's probably accurate, but I think there's a lot of other cases where it's not necessarily being done in a reciprocal fashion, but it's just the folks that have the most exposure online are often those celebrities with the largest followings, the most blog traffic, the most shared posts and stuff like that. But I absolutely agree that there is a ton of that being done. But the problem I have is this. With this kind of stuff, I got into it with a young guy yesterday outside of the US that writes about social media, blogs about social media. He's an 18-year-old, which I think is great. I think that's awesome. Unfortunately, he's writing blog posts telling people what to do and what not to do to be effective in social media. He's 18. And he's never done it. And he's got a huge following. He's got more followers, for example, on Twitter than I do. And they're all real. It's not that he's buying fake followers. The problem is he's an exceptional internet marketer and blogger. He's not a social media professional. And the problem that we have in this industry right now is basically if you can out-market somebody else, or out blog somebody else, then you will be perceived as, rightly or wrongly, as somebody that has some authority. So that, in my opinion, that's a problem, because guess what? I'm not going to write a blog post every day. I'm not going to hire guest or get guest bloggers to write on my blog, nor am I going to hire ghost bloggers. Everything I write is mine. It comes from me, and it's good. Or I feel comfortable that what I'm putting out is real. It's based on experience and so on. It's not just to create blog traffic so I can make ad revenue and or sell my book. And that's kind of the state where we're at right now, I think, in this industry.
You also need to ask yourself, like a lot of bloggers, yes, I agree with you, they write a post on how to. It's like majority of the posts will come out as how to do this, how to do that. Now, first things that I look in every bloggers when I go on when I discover a new blogger is how many affiliative links that person have on his blog. If I see that on every single page there is tons of affiliation links, I walk away, because their concern or their idea of blogging is not to give you a great content. The content might be completely crappy. For them, the importance is that you press on that link and that you buy something. And that's why they create so many how-to, because majority of the people, when we have an issue, we go on, or when we are looking for a solution, we will go on Google and we will say how to do this or how to do that. And we will end up majority on the blog posts. But the first thing that I do is I look into the affiliative links. If there is tons of affiliative links, I will walk away because I know where it goes. Usually the content is not really the most, for the best quality or the best knowledgeable one. So I just walk away. And I think that's also one of the issues why so many of the young bloggers are right now so successful, because they're physically hiding affiliative marketing behind blogging on a more nicest way.
Yeah.
What's the difference for you? I mean, what do you see when you look at the social media world? Is it totally overrun by marketers?
I don't know that it's overrun. I will say there's just quite a few out there, and let me just say, I mean, I don't have anything against marketing. I mean, for Pete's sake, I love it. You know, the problem is identifying the average person, clearly being able to identify, is this person who's telling me, writing about what I should be doing or shouldn't be doing in social media, is it based on any kind of experience in doing social media for others, or have they solely done self-promotion marketing? And the interesting thing I find is the hardest industries to migrate effectively into social media are direct marketers and PR companies. Why? Because they're used to telling, pitching, and closing, or manipulating story for traction. And if you approach social media from a pitch, drop, close perspective, or story spin, you're going to quickly be discovered in a lot of different ways. And I think something that Yuri mentioned, for Pete's sake, when you're reading somebody's article on their blog, and there's affiliate links, or there's ads for various stuff that is not theirs, and they've never really done it, that should just be a clear red flag to you that they're a professional marketer marketing themselves exclusively for traffic, and traffic is where they make their money.
If I can add, because I did advise a couple of people, because they were asking me, they said, so how do you determine who is a good blogger, or how do you determine who you should listen or from who you're taking? Do you know that it's their knowledge? And I always say I have approximately 5 to 6 questions that I ask myself when I read a blog post. First thing is, I'm asking myself, what is the message of the blog post? Or I call this aha moment, something new for me. Then I see if there is any idea in the blog post that can be applied to the business, because that's why I'm reading it, to see if I can apply an idea to a business. Then I'm looking if there is any arguments that support whatever it's written in the blog post as a research, so that I can say, okay, that's what was done, was like a case study. And I see if there is any previous work that it's mentioning in the blog post. If there is none, then I quietly walk away, because if you don't have anything to offer to me that I can apply out of experience, then I don't know why I should really read and listen. and believe that that's the best things. Because for me, it's easy to toss ideas out on a paper and write down, but if I never done anything what I say in my posts, then I mean, how credible I will be to people?
I think that's an excellent point, and I'll take it to the absolute next step of exactly what you just said, Yuri, and that is if the absolute best way to determine if somebody is a celebrity or a really experienced social media professional, read their blog post of what they're making, what recommendations they're making that you should be doing or not doing, and then go look at their feeds. I tell people this all the time. If they're not doing what they're telling you to do, they're writing posts that are completely worthless. And if you can't go look at their feeds and see what they are recommending you to do, then there's a problem. Big red flag.
I agree, and you need to look into their source of authority. Look into their professional and academical development. Look who they are, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't go on the blog post that they don't have about me page and at least something that I can read for who they work or with who they worked in the past. Because there is just, I mean, when I spend 20 minutes on something that it's so ridiculous that I almost choke myself on it, I mean, I never get those 30 minutes back, and I just, you know what I mean? 30 minutes is a lot of shortening my life for stupid things. So, that's how I manage and how I look into the professionals. And I'm not saying there are no professionals out there. There are some excellent bloggers out there. Even some of them that we might call them today social media celebrities because they're well known. Let's not get it wrong, but they're human. If you ask them a question, they will come back to you and they will answer. They will not treat you as a lower human being just because you're not on the same level. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm looking for.
Somebody has a comment. It says, sounds like the only answer is to fight fire with fire and market the snot out of our own skills, no? What else can we do but use the same techniques as social media braggarts? Anybody wants to answer that?
I will, or I'll give my thoughts on it. And I guess I would maybe say what I think she's trying to say a little bit differently. So it's incumbent upon us as the social media professionals that do it and have done it and are real and are doing it on a daily basis to change the messaging. So we've got to beat this drum. We've got to change the mindset of the industry from bottom up. So this is kind of why I named that post was the Occupy Tea social media party, because it's a very similar kind of a scenario. So rather than me going out now and marketing the hell out of me, which is not what I do, I simply am trying to be part of the change in the message about the industry. And so if we all continue to do that, if we all stop giving clout with a C to these folks that are just affiliate marketers or blog marketers, etc., then the whole sense will shift in the industry to be looking for the folks that are actually on the ground really doing it. I mean, people all the time, there's a bit of a tangent, but I think it's important to note, okay? You know, okay, you're speaking at an event and you consulted Starbucks on their social media. Well, great, my 14-year-old can, okay? They don't have to do social media, right? And they don't. Because you're consulting a big, huge brand or TV network or whatever, only means that you're a celebrity, because my daughter, my 14-year-old, could develop a strategy and execute it for a enormous big brand. So have you, or are the people that you're listening to actually doing this for companies like yours or industries like you're in? that's what we all should be looking for, pointing to and uplifting in this industry, not the name people that are out there. If we start doing that, I believe it will change the total mindset. I think what you mentioned early on when you first jumped in, Ray, about Steam Feed, and I want to fully disclose I have no equity, no connection to them other than I'm one of the writers for steamfeed.com or steamfeed.com on Twitter. But the idea is that there are no celebrities there. These are business people in social media, marketing, tech, et cetera, that's what they do for a living. They don't blog for a living, so that you're actually getting information from people that are talking about and writing about what they do for a living. And I think there's no better way, and I can speak specifically to the social media industry because I used to be a social media agency. And so what I tell people, if you're trying to figure out who you should read and listen to and so on, is if it was me, I would hunt around and find a smaller social media agency that writes once or twice a week, that has been in the business for a while, that has more than 2 employees, on and on and on. And this is what they do for a living. And when you can look at their feeds of that small social media agency and it matches what they're writing about for themselves, meaning they have a social media strategy for themselves, and it's not just talking with peers and competitors about social media, but they're actually driving revenue from their social media efforts within social media. That's the person, that's the company, that's the blog that if you want to learn social media done right, that's who you read, in my opinion.
Okay, so I want to go back before we go open to questions and go to the topic of the show. Basically, is how do you tell the difference between a social media professional and a celebrity? Can they both exist within the same person? And I'll throw that to whoever.
Sure, I think they can. I think I said this I think publicly the other day for the first time, but I think probably the closest, and I've never talked to the individual myself personally, but probably the closest person that I can think of that, at least from what I've seen, and Yuri, you might completely disagree, I don't know, but the closest person I could say that closely embodies a combination of celebrity and professional would be Mari Smith. So from what I can see at this point, and I don't spend a lot of time, vetting that, but just from what I've seen, she appears to be for real.
One question that I have, one of the reasons that I started the Open Social Media Initiative was my big problem was not with the big guys, it was with the people that I saw. They were relatively smaller professionals and they were just giving bad advice. How do you address the expectation problem? Because expectations are way off. People don't have a good understanding of what it takes to really succeed in social media. They don't understand it takes time. So first of all, from point of view of the consultant, how do you communicate that? And from a point of view of a client, what red flags do you see when they talk to somebody they are thinking about working with? What should they look for? What are red flags?
Yeah, well, I'm actually covering this in a teaching series with a bunch of social media agencies right now. So I think it's the timing's really good because it's really on top of my mind. So first of all, I never would have the client set expectations. You have to set the expectations and the understanding for the client of what they can expect and all of that. So so you should already be coming in with what understanding what their needs are, where they stand today, and where they need to get. So there certainly should be an understanding there. Oftentimes, the biggest question that we would get is, when can I expect a return on the investment? So I always approached it in a very different light. I would first do the work of explaining to them conceptually that social media is a marathon and not a sprint. Liken it more to a relationship rather than a hit and run. So it's a marathon. And so by laying the groundwork that, okay, you're asking me about ROI, you understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint, but you don't own shoes, haven't stretched, aren't training, and don't even have a coach. We have a lot of work to do to not only get you in the race, but get you running professional times that will result in some return. But there's a lot of work that has to be done first. So if it's a brand new client, that's the first thing I would do in expectation role is, hang on a second here. Before we can start talking about ROI, let's first frame where you're sitting in this marathon. By the way, the gun went off 4 years ago. Your competitors are already in the race. Your fans are standing on the sideline cheering for you, but you're not even there. And you're asking me about ROI on day one. Okay, well, why don't we get in the gym and let's get some work done first so that you can breathe and actually make it through, a half a mile, let alone the marathon. So I approached it in a very, very different way, and that conceptually helped them understand. I also frequently caution agencies that I consult or train on being a social media agency is be careful to under promise and over deliver. So always exaggerate time frames and be very conservative on your projections, and that way that you're always exceeding what those expectations were laid out originally.
First things that I do, I ask the clients and I say, tell me why. Why do you think you need to be on social media? Because I want to see what their objectives are. You know what I mean? What they really expect from social media. So, and then the next thing is, if they come to me and say, oh, I need 10,000 followers in next 2 weeks, I certainly tell them, thank you, but we do not offer that kind of services. Especially with the clients, and I will take a bit back, because sometimes we judge clients completely from the wrong perspective. We should educate them. You know what I mean? They don't know that buying followers, it's a bad thing. I'm sorry to say that, but majority they don't. They say, oh, it's not good. I heard that it's good. You know what I mean? So when you educate them and tell them what they really get, you know what I mean? Then they start to understand, you know what I mean, what social media is and how social media should be done. And then when you give them an explanation why numbers really don't matter, especially not numbers of followers, what I usually say, why don't we count the number of relationships or the number of customers that we can get you instead of the number of followers? Because it's easy to get you the number of followers, but now how many of those followers will become your customers? It's a bigger question.
Well, Yuri and I will definitely work on being a little bit more direct and
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot. I usually am a bit more direct, but I was afraid of being too direct. You know?
Me too. I was trying to We'll work on that. We'll work on that.
Hey, Robert, can you send me those 15,000 followers? Oh, are we still on air? Sorry.
Yeah, you're still on air. We'll trade those when we go off. I just want to add, could I add one more thing, Sherry? Because again, it's excellent advice. It's just that the way I approach it as well is that when a client asks, I always frame it within the context of what their business goals are. because it's too easy to separate those things, to keep them apart. Oh, I'm on social media, so I got to, optimize my Facebook page, and I have to do this. But the big question is why? As you say, why do you want to do that? How is it going to help you accomplish what business goals you have? Because ultimately, social media is a media; it's a channel for you to do that with, not in and of itself. We're almost at the end. Anybody want to add anything?
But wait, before you go, because you just hit the nail. I want to say there is one thing. There is no marketing and social media, or my business, and I do social media on a side. Your business is social media. That's what they need to understand, so that we are clear. It's not, oh, you know what I mean? I have a marketing plus social media. Doesn't work that way. You need to have everything in one place in order to work.
Yeah, as your business is marketing. I mean, it's all together.
Exactly.
Anybody want to add anything? We're going to be closing up. Sherry, Robert.
I just want to thank everybody for giving us, for all three of you, for giving your time. I know you guys are all busy.
My invoice is in the mail.
Oh, you didn't get yet retainer? I'm on retainer.
So thank you very much, and I invite anybody who is willing to give a few, maybe half an hour of their time and would like to teach social media openly, to contact me, and I would love to feature you. Let's do this together, and let's get the message out there. So thank you very much.
Great. Well, thanks everybody. It was a real joy.
What about you, Ray? Do you want to say something?
No, thank you so much. No, we were too direct.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Thanks so much.
I'm sure that I will get some death threats today in my mail. I'm looking forward.
Take care. Thanks a lot,
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.